Okay, hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of allowing. I hope that you had the chance to review day 1. If this is your first experience and you didn't have the opportunity to actually watch day 1, stop this video, go watch day 1, because day 1 set the foundation for the next 4 days, for the next week. So it's really important that you understand what I'll be talking about. I'm going to be referring to the instrument panel or the emotional guidance scale, same thing. And if you're not familiar with that, or if you don't have access to it, this might be just a little confusing. Maybe not, I'm not sure, but it's important for you to understand the emotional guidance system anyways. So just stop this video, watch the first day, and then return back. So if you're continuing, I assume that you've watched the first day. And today we're going to be talking about allowing, in a more specific sense, allowing love. And then we'll go into other topics throughout the week. So I'll be talking about allowing more freedom, allowing more abundance. But today we're talking about love. And the reason I chose the first topic to be love is because it's so high on our emotional scale. If you take a look, if you have that printed out, love and appreciation are at the top of that emotional scale. So when you're in that state of love, which is a very high vibration, you are in that moment, you're allowing more opportunities to love. You're given more things to be grateful for and to appreciate and to love. So love and appreciation actually have the same vibration. And I'll be talking about love, but understand that it's like what you appreciate, you're loving. And what you love, you appreciate. So it has that same vibrational feel. Sometimes I find that it's actually easier to love something than it is to appreciate it if it's not in my experience right now. So let's just say, for the sake of example, there is a house that I really want, and I'm currently not living there, right? And I might find it difficult to actually appreciate it because it's not mine, right? So I can appreciate things about it, but I still see it as out of my current reality, right? But there are things about it that I can love. And so I can genuinely, authentically feel love towards something or someone that is not in my experience right now. Sometimes it works the other way around. Sometimes you can really be grateful for something. For example, when you're on a spiritual path and there are experiences in your life that aren't desirable, but you can understand how you're learning something and how you're growing, right? To be appreciative of that moment sometimes can be easier than loving that moment, or even loving a person who might be teaching you something that you can be grateful for. So just understand that love and appreciation both have the same vibration. Sometimes from our human perspective, one might be easier than the other. And so wherever you are, again, yesterday we talked about allowing. Just allow wherever you are to be. However, when you're deliberately creating, when you're being an intentional allower, then you really want to look at, how is my mind working right now, and how can I shift to a higher vibration? And if gratitude or appreciation in that moment just doesn't feel authentic, then you're going to want to reach for something else, right? None of this is about generating feelings inauthentically. This is all about genuinely appreciating where you are, allowing where you are. And I'm just going to mute. Hello, whoever is joining me. I can't see. Oh, perfect. It's already muted. Okay, awesome. But this is all about being very authentic, being very real about where you are, wherever you are on that emotional scale. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to move my book here so I can take a look at my notes. So the first thing that I want you to take a look at is, where are you withholding love? We withhold love from other people when we have an expectation that they are not currently meeting. And the reason why it feels bad to withhold love is because you're actually shutting yourself off from that natural state. Our higher self always wants to love. Our higher self always wants to, it's like this, I always picture myself as the sunshine. My higher self is that ray of sunshine that shines on everybody, that on the good and the, who we would judge as bad, wrong, whatever, the sun shines on everybody the same. And that's when we are in our higher self, or when we are in alignment with our God self, or however you want to say it, like when we're in alignment with source, we are loving everybody. And that feels good. Like I taught yesterday, if it feels good, it's because you're in alignment with truth, with a capital T, with the truth of who you really are. And that means that you love everybody. And so when you judge someone as being wrong, as being as being somebody who you're expecting them to be somebody who they're not, the reason why it feels so bad isn't because of who they are or how they're being. It's because in that moment, you're shutting yourself off to love. And isn't that a beautiful picture? Can't you just be compassionate with yourself in that moment? Because anytime you're feeling bad, it's because you've just told yourself a story that is causing suffering in that moment, right? And there is no judgment here. There's no judging others, and there's no judging yourself. Because when you're in a state of judging, you are not allowing, you are resisting. And your higher self is never judging. Your higher self never judges anybody else as being wrong. And your higher self is never judging you either. So when you are judging, you are in a place of suffering, because in that moment, you are not experiencing reality with a capital R. This is what Marianne Williamson teaches about reality with a capital R, truth with a capital T. That is the ultimate. That's how God is always experiencing life, through your eyes. So when you're not loving others, when you're withholding love, you're actually shutting yourself off from actually giving love and receiving love. And when that happens, that is what causes that suffering. It's not because of what other people are doing. It seems like that because you say, well, I'm observing this behavior. I don't like what I see. I don't feel good. Therefore, it's their fault, or therefore I'm suffering because of what I'm observing in them. And in all actuality, it's that illusion, right? We're buying into a lie, because if somebody else witnessed that same behavior, but it didn't trigger them, then there would be no resistance, right? So you can see the common denominator is actually you, not the person outside. So the first way to allow more love into your experience is to allow yourself to give more love, right? To give more love and allow yourself to receive more love. So this one was really difficult for me. For the longest time, I felt like if I allowed others to love me, that I would be vulnerable, that I would be exposed, and that I would eventually get hurt. It was a story that I had told myself, and it just replayed over and over and over again. So either I allowed somebody to love me and I would get hurt, right? Because this was a belief, this was a belief in my experience, was that when I allowed myself to love, that I would get hurt. Therefore, I would attract people into my experience that had the capacity to hurt me. And those are the people that I would actually allow myself to open up to, because it was a story that I had to prove true. So when you allow yourself to love everyone and you love yourself unconditionally, then you're actually not in a place of vulnerability. You're in a place of power. When you understand that the more love you give, the more love that you are able to receive, the less likely it is that somebody will actually hurt you. And if somebody is coming from their place of pain, you are already so filled up with love that the way that they react to you is less painful, even if the end result is where they no longer exist in your experience. Does that make sense? So what I mean by that is you'll begin to attract people who give love and receive love freely. You're giving love and receiving love freely. So you're coming to a place of empowerment, right? When you're coming from a place of woundedness and you're giving love, expecting love in return, if they don't give that love to you in return, then that causes suffering. So I know this is a really deep topic, but for the sake of this challenge, I'm going to cover it maybe not so deeply, but I do want you to see, though, that it's when you are withholding love, it causes pain. And when you give love unconditionally, that is how your higher self is always giving love. Your higher self is always sharing love, vibrating love, and open to receiving love. And when you're in that state, you're in a state of allowing. So allow yourself to love others unconditionally. And hand in hand with that, it's so important, and man, is it easier said than done here, but allow yourself to love somebody without trying to change them. So I know that there's probably somebody in your life, no matter who you are, that you're trying to change or that you really want to change. It might be an ex-romantic partner. It might be a current romantic partner. It might be your children. It might be a friend. It might be a sibling or a parent or whatever. And you feel like if you could just change a certain behavior, if you could change the way that they wanted to see things, then you could feel better. And maybe it's coming from a place of love. Maybe you don't want to see them suffer anymore. And you know more than they do. You know that if they saw things differently, that they would prevent them from suffering any longer. But it really is insane to try to change somebody else, because everybody is on their own unique path. Everybody has all of their own stories. Everybody is currently on a certain level of their emotional guidance scale. And for them to change, to make you feel good is insane. The good news is that nobody has to change in order for you to feel good. That's the good news. You might think that they do, but when you just, again, that word allowing, right? Focus on allowing. When you allow, not only allow yourself to be wherever you are and allowing yourself to be compassionate with wherever you are in that moment in a particular situation, but when you allow someone else to be exactly where they are without judgment, and just understand that everybody is where they are. Everybody has their own unique experiences, and everybody, even rock bottom, if somebody is at rock bottom and you don't want to see them suffer anymore, in order to remove yourself from suffering, allow that place to be a beautiful place for them, because that might be exactly what they need in order to shift, right? A perfect example is something Wayne Dyer taught me, is that you can't blame a dog for being a dog, right? If a dog growls at you or tries to bite you, you don't try to change the behavior in that dog instantly. No, granted, this might be not the greatest example, because eventually, if there's a dog that bites, you're going to do something about it. But the first thing that you do, well, let's say a bear in the woods, right? Let's say you encounter a bear in the woods and it's growling at you, and you have the feeling that it's going to attack you. Do you make the bear wrong? Do you get angry at the bear? Do you try to attack back or try to change its behavior? Doesn't that seem a bit insane? The best thing for you to do is to remove yourself from that situation, remove yourself from that angry bear, and find a place of safety. So you might have to remove yourself from a particular relationship, or remove yourself even from just a conversation. Like if you're at work and somebody's being completely negative, then the best thing for you to do in that moment, not to try to change the conversation, but remove yourself, right? Make your vibration the most important thing. Make your joy, whatever it is that you're focused on, the most important thing, while you allow everybody else to be where they are, right? So take a deep breath and just kind of soak that in a little bit. I think that might be one of the most difficult things, especially if it's somebody who you love and you don't want to see suffer. A relationship that you're in that you feel would improve if only they would change, if only they would just do something differently, if only they would see something differently, and understand that is your source of suffering. That when you remove yourself and you just allow them to be with love, you just love them wherever they are, you're looking at them through the eyes of Source. The eyes of Source, the eyes of God, is never judging anybody for where they are. It's just loving that person with total compassion, non-judgment, complete acceptance. So if you're having a difficult time loving somebody or loving a situation, ask yourself, because I'm feeling resistant in this moment, I know that I'm seeing things out of alignment than the way that my higher self is actually perceiving this. So God, source, how are you seeing this person? How are you perceiving the situation? Because I am willing to see things differently. When you're willing to see things differently, you remove yourself from suffering. All right. So then the last one, and again, for some reason, this is something that's challenging for a lot of us, but it's actually loving ourselves. And maybe this should have gone at the very beginning, because I feel like when we can actually love and accept who we are, and when we can love ourselves despite the decisions that we've made in the past, when we can love ourselves despite the mistakes that we feel we've made, when we can just accept ourselves and our journey and everything from past to the present, and just love ourselves unconditionally, it actually makes loving other people a lot easier. When you love yourself and you have compassion for yourself and you're proud of yourself, then you're totally filled with love, and you're totally filled with just, if you're filled with love, usually you're filled with joy too. And when you feel full, it's a lot easier to not judge others and to allow other people to be who they are, because you're not trying to change people. You're already happy. You're already filled with joy. You're already filled with love. Right. And actually joy is going to be another topic for a different day. But for today, loving yourself. Right. So this was one that I recently took to another level for myself, because I had done a lot of work around forgiving myself for decisions that I had made in the past, stupid things that I had done, at a young age, ways that I abused my body. I drank too much. I messed around with, recreational drug use. And I judged myself pretty heavily for a long time. And then I started to just forgive myself. And then there were decisions that I had made in my present reality that, again, it was like, oh, I did it again. I made the same mistake. And I would start to kind of mentally abuse myself and shame myself. I should have known better. I should be further along than this. And I was able to offer myself more love and compassion through those times and bring self-love to a higher level. So you might have, if you're a spiritual seeker and you've been on this path and you've practiced forgiveness, maybe you have forgiven yourself in the past for some of those things that were a long time ago, or the way that you've treated people, or decisions that you made. But are you continuing to practice self-love every single day and understand? So I want you to write this down. This was so enlightening to me. The universe is self-correcting and self-organizing. So anything that we consider a mistake, anything that we consider something that we blew, or whatever it is, the universe is always self-correcting. In the moment where we feel like we made a mistake, in that moment, if we allow ourselves to hand it over to our source, to hand things over to God, there is a moment of grace where the universe just course corrects and places us right back to where we need to be, without any suffering and without any penalty, without any karma. Grace supersedes karma. So karma says there is a cause and there is effect. So I made this mistake and therefore now I have to pay for it. But grace supersedes that, saying that in that moment that all of your mistakes, or so-called mistakes, have been wiped clean, and the universe will take care of it. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm sure this kind of goes without saying, but I do want to specify, it doesn't mean that you can go out there and wreak havoc and do crazy, stupid things and just expect the universe to course correct. There's always ways to elevate, and I want to say it's not lessons that we have to learn, because I don't believe that we have lessons to learn, but from a human standpoint, there are perspectives that we need to let me just say, for lack of a better word, it is from a human perspective. Let's say that there are lessons that we have to learn. From a spiritual perspective, no. From a spiritual perspective, I believe that we're here to just give and receive love, to have a really good time, to enjoy life. But sometimes there are things that we need to, ways that we need to grow. Let's put it that way. And so I'm not saying that you can just be completely irresponsible, deliberately understanding that grace will correct that path. But what I am saying is that when you are doing your best in any situation and you fall short, when you make a decision that didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out, in that moment, grace can come in, when you invite grace to come in and correct your path. So another reason to just be gentle with yourself and compassionate with yourself, and just understand that you are worthy, that you're worthy of this life, that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of giving love, and you're worthy of receiving love. You're worthy of receiving love from other people, and you're worthy of receiving love from yourself. You are worthy to give love to the world, and you're worthy of just being the divine creation that you came here to be. That truly is practicing self-love. And when you love yourself and you see yourself as that worthy being, then you are in a place of power. And when you're in that place of power and alignment, then you allow more miracles to unfold. And remember that the outside world is just a reflection of the way that you feel inside. So when you love yourself and you appreciate yourself, guess what's going to happen? There are going to be other situations that reflect back to you. You will begin to attract people who actually love you that way. You'll be able to attract romantic relationships. The relationships that you're in will shift in a way that is more fun and relaxing and loving. And the friendships that maybe aren't serving you begin to fall away. And you begin to invite new and more empowering friendships in. So practicing love, you'll notice that the people that are in your life will either, the people will start to change, your perspective of them will start to change, or they might just vibrate out of your experience depending on where they are on their path. I know that when I practiced this, my romantic relationship, the relationship that I have with my husband, really improved. And not necessarily that he changed so much, but that I was seeing him from a different perspective. And I really don't think that he did a whole lot of changing, but I loved him so much more deeply. And I appreciated his humor more. I used to kind of think that we didn't have the same sense of humor. And when he would say a joke, it kind of irritated me. And his sense of humor hasn't changed, but somehow I have managed to change my perspective, because I laugh a lot more at him and it's just easier. So you'll see that this topic of love is so big. This topic of love reaches every single relationship that you have, whether it be professional relationships with work, with people at work, relationships at home with your kids, with your parents, with your siblings. Everybody is affected when you simply allow more love. And that means that you're allowing yourself to love. You're allowing more love in. You're not blocking yourself because you're afraid of being hurt. You know that you are that source of love. So if somebody isn't capable of loving you back, you're so filled with love that it really doesn't affect you. Or it might affect you briefly, but it doesn't have the power to affect you permanently. So that is all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this topic. I know that it's a really big topic, and just for today, so yesterday your assignment was to take a look at the instrument panel or your emotional guidance system and find out where you are on that scale. And today I want you to notice, like, as you're going about your day, where are you giving love? Where is it easy to give love? And where are you withholding love? And it might even be, sometimes the easier lessons are when you're interacting with people who aren't really close to you. Like when you're at a grocery store, for example, if somebody holds the door open, that's a display of love. And you can feel that when you feel appreciation for that person or for that act of kindness, you actually feel love. Or if somebody cuts you off in traffic, again, that's a stranger. It's not going to affect you long term, but how do you feel when somebody cuts you off and you actually withhold love from that person because you're getting angry in that moment? And just notice, again, no judgment. Don't judge yourself for feeling a certain way that blocks that ability to love that person in that moment. Just notice. When you notice without judgment, you'll let that experience or anger, whatever it is that you're experiencing, you let that move. And I promise you that it will, that those places where you are withholding love, when you allow those feelings to be and move, love will take its place. Just like the example that I gave you with my husband, where I was withholding love, when I just allowed myself to see things the way that I was seeing them, and I allowed myself to be with wherever I was, things just started to change. And there was more love for me to give because I was being more loving with myself, and I was being more allowing with what it was that I was, more authentic with what it was that I was experiencing in that moment. So I think I'll end with this. When you just allow yourself to be in wherever you are without judgment, and you just notice where you are, love, once those emotions move, because they will, that's what they want to do, love will take its place. Love is such a high vibration. Love is such a high frequency that when you're in that state of love and allowing, then the world around you will literally transform. Love is such a powerhouse. So make that your priority today, is see where you're giving love, where are you withholding love, and then have a conversation with God or with the universe, with your source, and say, how can I see this differently so that I can allow more love, right? Not trying to change things, but just trying to see things differently right now in this present moment. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.